What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about how I believe Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is definitely delayed to 2023. Now, there's not, flat-out evidence that's, staring us in the face, saying that the game is going to be delayed, but I just think, we have Hogwarts Legacy, we have Gotham Knights. I think the writing is kind of on the wall. Maybe it's in, a language we don't speak, but I do think the language is on the wall that's saying, okay, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is next. And I don't think they would make as big of a deal about it. Or I don't think people like us will make that big of a deal about it when that ends up happening. But I do think this will be a game that most likely will not release next year. And we'll talk about different reasons why. But first, if you guys are new here, make sure as always you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on. And I don't know how close we are at this point. You guys are watching this video on Twitter to 2,000 followers. I assume insanely close. Closer than ever before. So if you guys aren't following me over on Twitter, and you do have one, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Link for that will be in the description below. And obviously you could just look me up over there as well. And I would super appreciate it, okay? Now, I don't want this game to be delayed. And by the way, I should have maybe said this. I recorded the Hogwarts video before this, but I do want to say this early in the Suicide Squad video. Maybe people can take this the wrong way that I'm so, because I talk about delays quite often, okay? I'm not against delays, at all. In fact, I think they're fine. I really do believe they're for the best of the game. And as long as the game comes out, eventually comes out, that's, I guess, the first thing. But as long as it comes out in a better state than it would have if it wasn't delayed, then the delay was worth it. So that's, it really doesn't get any easier than that. So anybody that says online that I'm, so anti or, I'm just a big baby, which, you could argue, but, that I'm so, anti-delays, it's fake news, okay? Because I'm honestly not. So I think Suicide Squad is a prime candidate to be pushed. What we have so far is Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights both delayed till 2022. So you could look at it two ways. You could look at it as a very optimistic way, and I have seen people, especially on Twitter, do this, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't do this, but I've seen some people on Twitter saying, man, next year is going to be killer for, DC games because you're going to have two of them, two big ones, and you're going to have Hogwarts Legacy. So really, Warner Bros. Is going to do insanely well. I think that's getting, again, there's nothing wrong with it. You can set your expectations wherever you want, and don't let me set it for you, but I just don't think that's gonna my expectations are that's not gonna happen. We are not gonna get all three games in 2022. I think the stage is set to get two, Gotham Knights and Hogwarts Legacy, and then Suicide Squad gets pushed. We said it before, Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights definitely do need to come out far apart from each other. I really don't think they work 1, 2, maybe even 3 months apart. I think you really got to give them basically half a year. So first half, second half. So, again, is it impossible? No. And am I saying that this is absolutely going to happen? No. You're free to disagree. But I think, say Gotham Knights comes out next February or next March or next April, Suicide Squad I do think could come out in the fall. Actually closer to holiday, right? October, November. That could totally happen. But then again, you have to think about Hogwarts Legacy, and I get that DC and the Wizarding World are not the same thing. In fact, they're very different, but they're also huge games from the same publisher. And by huge, you can't really say system sellers, right? Because when you say that, you're kind of talking about Nintendo games, Microsoft games, Sony games, but they are games that are going to make them a lot of money. When you do your financial reports and you do your fiscal reports, right? You're going to bring these games up as your leaders in sales, okay? And I think all three of these are ones that they expect to do very good. So I just don't think, again, we say Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad need to be far away from each other. I also think Hogwarts Legacy needs to be far away from the other ones as well, because yes, I'm not saying the other game will sell nothing, but I am saying that people only have a finite amount of money, and I don't know. We've seen it before. Certain Bethesda's done it before. If you guys remember back a couple years ago, Bethesda, I think, had... Now, these two games weren't, the biggest games of all time, but they had Wolfenstein 2 and Evil Within 2, I believe, released in the exact same month, okay? That's not a good idea. This is not something that you should ever do, ever, because they just... Again, they're very different games as well, but they're from the same publisher. You can't get people, as many people as you want, excited and do the marketing, right? Because there's marketing for games as well. Obviously, it's more expensive and there's more of it for movies, but there is for games too. And I don't really think you can fully push that out there if you're doing two at the same time, okay? So, to me, I have said this actually since it happened. I think it was announced way too early. Going into DC fandom, I think we all expected it. Okay, we all wanted it. That's another thing too, right? And leading into it, we got like the poster of Superman, and then we got the trailer. I was like, oh my dear God, like let's go, like this is awesome, right? But the fact is, they announced it August of 2020, and they say 2022. I just think, like, again, we all wanted it, and we all expected it, but I think that's because we thought the game would come out a lot sooner. I think there was even potential promise that the game could maybe even come out before Gotham Knights, right? Because it's just, I don't know, Rocksteady versus Warner Bros. Montreal. But I think after we saw that release date, I've always said I think it was announced too soon, okay? And I think if it gets delayed out of 22 and into 2023, I think that's even more, ammunition to say, oh yeah, it was announced way too early. I think it's very fluid. I think the game absolutely could come out in 2022. At the same time, when you announce a game so early, and we're still in the middle of certain things going on around the world, we've been for a while, it slows things down. It slows things down quite a bit. We know, and here's the last thing I'll say. We know how it affects games and studios this year. We knew how it did last year, and we probably know how it's going to, like, the next couple months going towards, like, the second half of the year. I guess we don't know fully what all of this stuff that's happened, okay, and slowing everything down. We don't know for sure what it's done to games that are very far away. So, like, Suicide Squad, you could even bring up GTA 6 or the next BioShock game, stuff like that. Those are games that were so far, or like you can keep coming up, like any sequels to big games. You could say like another Kingdom Hearts game, like a brand new one, right? Just to throw out some examples. Like, we don't know how, like, did anything, did they slow down at all? Because if you're starting a game from scratch, maybe you really do need to be together, and maybe it really slows you down, or maybe it doesn't slow you down at all. Maybe, like, it's okay, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think it depends on the situation, but I mean, we just flat out don't know. So I would say, personally, I don't think this game is coming out next year. I will be going into next year fully expecting and wanting Gotham Knights and Hogwarts Legacy, but I will not be expecting Suicide Squad Kill a Justice League. I also don't know if they would show anything this year. I feel like it maybe would be safest to be silent, and then next year come out, and even if it comes out in 2023, next year can be your, like, coming out party, right? You could talk about it, you can show it, all that good stuff, okay? So that's my personal prediction. Again, I'm not against delays, number one. And number two, I know I sound confident, or I'm saying all these things, but I don't expect you guys, everybody, to listen to me or follow along with what I'm saying in terms of, like, agreement, right? You guys can think whatever you want. I fully endorse you guys doing that, right? So I want you guys to have your own opinion. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. When do you think this game comes out? Do you still think it comes out in 2022, and 2022 is just an amazing year for Warner Bros., or do you think it comes out later, 2023, or even maybe further than that? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Again, hit the bell icon so you guys know all these videos go up. Twitter, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Once we get to 2,000, I will shut up about Twitter for quite some time, okay? Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.